Lawmakers in D.C. have spent months trying to negotiate a new COVID relief bill to help the millions of Americans suffering from the pandemic. But this week, there looks to be some headway. A group of bipartisan centrist lawmakers unveiled a $908 billion stimulus plan that would provide much-needed aid to hard-hit cities, states, and unemployed Americans. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says the plan's framework should be used as the basis for more negotiations. But Senator Bernie Sanders, a key vote in the Senate, is vocally opposing this proposal, saying it doesn't go far enough for struggling Americans. Joining me now is the independent senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders. Senator, good to see you again. I am worried about this because I'm going around the country every week talking to small businesses and workers, and they're very, while I'm very excited that we'll have a vaccine out soon, these folks don't have 6 months of money to keep their businesses afloat or to stay in their apartments or to not be kicked out of their homes. They're finding themselves in food lines and food insecure. We need direct payments.
Absolutely, we need direct payments. Let us be clear. What we have right now are people suffering in a way economically that we have not seen since the Great Depression. Hunger is at an all-time high in recent years. You have tens of thousands of people facing eviction. You got over 90 million people who are uninsured or underinsured. And what the American people want, they understand that in the midst of this crisis, through no fault of their own, because of their pandemic, the economy is in shambles. And they are asking the United States Congress to help them. At the very least, what we should be doing is continuing that $1,200 payment to every working class adult in this country, plus $500 for their children. In addition to that, I worry very much that in this bill being put together right now, there is legal immunity for corporations who have been irresponsible in protecting their workers. So the fact that we are not addressing the economic crisis of tens of millions of people in this bill, and they were giving large corporations carte blanche to ignore the safety needs of their workers, tells me that this is not a bill that should be passed.
And in fact, when the Democrats wanted a $2 trillion bill and Mitch McConnell was suggesting a $500 billion bill, it was mostly the $500 million didn't include any direct payments to anybody. It was mostly indemnity to corporations. But I have to ask you, Senator Sanders, where this is coming from. Is it the lies that the president has had about coronavirus and its seriousness? Is it Mitch McConnell and Republicans who are very, very concerned about increasing debt, which would be like finding God very suddenly in your last week of life? Or is it this K-shaped recovery in which we've got a Dow at 30,000, we've got stock holders doing very well, we've got people like me who can work from home and unaffected if it takes another 6 months to get a vaccine, I'll do just fine. And there's a whole group of people in this country who are in food lines and not able to work from home and getting sicker and potentially exposed to death.
Ali, I think it is all of the above. It is a contempt. Now, could you imagine if corporate executives were put into a position where their lives were being threatened and the government said, we don't have to worry about that? We're looking at tens and tens and tens of thousands of working class people, often black and brown, working in the food processing industry, working in Amazon, where, as I understand it, 20,000 people have been infected. And what Mitch McConnell is saying, we're going to make sure that none of those corporations, no matter how irresponsible they have been, none of them are going to face any legal repercussions. This reminds me of going back to The Jungle. You remember the book, The Jungle, in early 1900s? Yeah. We're going back there. Doesn't matter what you do to your workers. And second of all, again, the American people don't want a handout, but they understand that this pandemic is now ravaging this country, worse today than ever before. They need help to get their feet back on, their feet back on, standing up so they can take care of their kids. And we have got to address those.
Where are you in this process? What levers do you have to push? I mean, obviously, if the Georgia Senate runoff goes a certain way on January 5th, it'll be a lot easier to get things through the Senate. But what levers do you have to push to say Americans need direct payments? Small businesses need grants, not loans. Companies need European style, pay the companies to keep people employed for longer.
Right. We're working with colleagues both in the Senate and in the House, and we're trying to rally the American people. This, what we are talking about here, Ali, is not a radical idea. It is what the American people want. And every now and then, it might be a good idea for Congress to listen to the American people rather than large corporations.
Senator, we've been talking a lot about this Georgia election. It's 1 month from today. And it's, for people outside of Georgia, they may think it's the problem of people in Georgia. But in fact, this may be the best answer for getting things done in Congress if Democrats have essential control of Congress in a 50-50 Senate.
Yeah, look, this is enormously important. And to our friends in Georgia, please understand that what this election is about, if you want to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, you got to vote for Warnock and Ossoff. If you want to expand health care rather than cut and throw people off of health care, you got to vote for these guys. If you're concerned about climate change, you got to vote for these guys. If you want a strong COVID-19 emergency bill, you got to vote for these guys. So, in fact, what's happening in Georgia right now is going to impact the entire country. And as you've indicated, it will mean whether or not we can bring forward an agenda that works for working people rather than just the wealthy and the powerful.
Yeah, because you've told me several times over the last few months since you left the presidential race that your goal is to get Joe Biden elected and then to make him the most progressive president in the history of the United States. That job becomes a lot easier if you at least don't have Republicans controlling the Senate.
Absolutely. And it is, we're all working as hard as we can to make sure that the two Democratic candidates win in Georgia. And those two elections will clearly have a profound impact on everybody in our country.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.